Gammill, I'm Jack from Quilting Dreams. Today I want to show you 3 different ways that I load the backing onto my quilt frames. So the first way that I'm going to show you today is using my Gammill Classic Plus. So this is on a nice large frame, it sits out in my carport, and I absolutely love this machine. She's beautiful. I have the IntelliQuilter robotics on her. She's just wonderful. I'm just going to pop her aside for the moment, and I'm going to show you how I load this back onto the Gammill. So for this method, we're going to use the red snappers. I find these are really quick and easy, and they make the job just beautiful to do. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you how I do this. So the first step that I do is get the middle of that backing piece. So place 2 bits in half, and then pop the pin in here. Now we only leave that pin in just for a moment, but that pin is in. I then put it back out, and I find the mark on the backing lead at here, and I match that up with that pin, which is just here. And then I take that pin out because we don't want that left in there, and I pop that around there, and I generally match it up with the bottom of that leader fabric, and then we pop in our first small red snapper. So there's 3 sizes of red snappers. So the small ones, which I use to get it sort of steady, and then there's some medium size and some large ones. I then pull this out and do the same thing here, just put it over the top and grab one of the little ones and pop that in, and then I do the same on the other end. And I know it's a bit hard, you probably won't be able to see that just because of my frame shot, but I do the same thing at this end and pop that on. So then we've got it in 3 different sections. I then go ahead and I grab the large red snapper. I work from the middle, so I just take off that middle one, just holding that nicely, take that one off and pop this one in, and I just work down, making sure that I have the backing piece lined up all the way along, and you just snap this one in. If they're brand new red snappers, they will take a little bit to get in, but once you've used them a few times, you will find that it's much easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish popping this one on here. And then essentially when you put it on the front, you do exactly the same thing. So I've now taken off 2 of the small ones, and then we're just going to go ahead and pop this one on here. On the other side, again, just making sure that we have that fabric folded over, and once you get started, it's very, very easy. And you'll find this way, just popping it in, just like that. I just bring it over, make sure it's lined up, and in we go. It's that simple. I'll just finish off this end here. And that is our first method of putting backing onto a long arm. So that's method number 1. We're going to go to my other long arm, and we're going to do method number 2 and number 3, as this one here is not set up for either of those methods because I only use the red snapper on this one. So let's head to the other machine. Okay, for method number 2, we are going to do that one on Miss Moxie. So this is my very first long arm quilting machine. This is a Moxie Handi Quilter. She's got a 15-inch throat space and she sits inside my sewing room. I don't use her as much nowadays because I've got the Gammill, and the Gammill gets used all the time, but she certainly comes in handy for those smaller projects and is such an amazing machine. She's a workhorse and she gets the job done. I've not had any issues with my Moxie. I think she's just a lovely machine. So I'll just pop her out the way for the moment. So with this one here, we still want to find the halfway mark. So let's lift that there and pop a pin into that halfway mark. And we want to make sure that our back of our fabric is right side up. So just flick that there. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to see how I go, because ordinarily what you would do is you would bring your leader underneath this bar here, underneath this bar that you probably can't quite see, but there's a second bar just beneath here. So you'd pop it under there, and then you'd find the halfway mark, which is just here, and we would line that pin up with the halfway mark. Now normally I would load from the front of the machine, but for this video it's probably easier for me to be at the back. But essentially with this one here, we are going to use, just bring that, we're going to use these Sew Tites magnets. These are really good. They're super strong and they hold it together absolutely incredibly well. Most people that have these backing pieces already sewn into the leader, so you can pop them in, and about every 6 or 7 inches you put a strip and you have these in there permanently, and then you just attach these. I haven't done that yet, but it certainly is an option that you can do. These are a little bit more expensive option, especially here in Australia. I'm not sure about other countries. The red snappers are probably a really good alternative, but using it on a Moxie with the 15-inch throat space, it can encroach in your space. So it's probably, these are definitely a better option. They just cost a little bit more to get as many as you need for your frame. I have the 10-foot frame here, so it's a little bit more expensive again. So what we can do here is we're putting our fabric on. We'll bring this up, and I'll try and do this in reverse, how I would need to. Here we are. So there's the center, and it does look a bit awkward, I know, but normally I would work from the other side. And we then pop the fabric on top there, and then we put the magnet underneath, so that would normally be inside if you've got this set up on your machine. And then we go ahead and put this magnet on top. Take that pin out, and we'll just repeat that because that's not the best coming in from this side, but it's just a bit of a demonstration. Oh, and you can't even see, so let me just bring it up here. Let's just bring it up here, and I'll show you this way up here so that you can see. So what you would do is, you've got your fabric that would be underneath that leader. You bring your fabric across. Now you would normally have the bottom piece in. Grab your magnet, the bottom piece underneath, which would normally be in for you, and in place, and then you just snap the Sew Tite on top. It's as simple as that. You work your way across, probably every 6 to 7 inches. You want to have one of these in place. I'll just grab one here. I've got a whole bunch behind me. Again, we just separate. These would normally be in. Pop that underneath here and snap that on. This is a really quick and easy method. I find that it works really well for me. We've got the underneath piece, and being that I haven't sewed mine in, I still just sit here and use it and snap on top. I find that, you know, this is a really good method because we don't have to tend to fight with pins. We just have the magnets, and it tends to be a little bit safer than some of those pins can sometimes prick us. So just one last time, going there and snap. So you can see here we have all of these on. You need to have them about that far apart. Maybe you could get away with a little bit further. But this is method number 2, and this is one that I use on the Moxie, and it is it saves a lot of space. So with the Moxie you don't have a lot of throat space, so this is a really good alternative to pins and saves a lot of space. The only downside of this one is they're probably a little bit more expensive, but I think they're worth it. So let's change over to option number 3. Okay, so option number 3, and this is the traditional way. This is a way that I don't use very often anymore. The reason I don't use it is I tend to get pricked a lot from the pins, or they get caught on my clothing and then they were putting holes in my clothing. So I've tended to move away from this option, but it's still probably one of the most common used options, and it is great. It's also the cheapest option that I would suggest. I use Quilters Pins for mine. So these are just long headed. They've got it's just a long pin with quite a big head on the top. So let's go ahead and we'll trial this one as well. So again, right sides together. We're going to find the center piece, and we'll pop that in there. And I put a pin in that center spot. Now I am going to, for the demonstration, I'm just going to have this up high so that you can see what I'm doing. So we want to find that center point of the leader. Now normally this would be under this bar here and come out, and we would attach under here, but for the purposes of this demonstration I'm just going to show you up here. And we make sure that your fabric is wrong side up, and we're going to go ahead and we find that center point of a leader, and we match that up with a pin, and I generally take that middle one out and pop it in. Now the way I pin is I'll just pin merrily all the way along. So we're just going to pop that in. I have them fairly close together, so probably that sort of length apart. So I have quite a few pins in here, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that because this is a nice, probably the cheapest option you have, and we've all probably got these Quilters pins in our quilting space. I do find that this, on bigger quilts, this can take a bit of time, but it's still okay. I still quite enjoy doing it. I just don't use this one as often. I guess for me, I use the red snappers the most. I do find this is probably the most time consuming method out of the 3, but it's a traditional method, and it's still quite a great method. Now when I get to this end one here, I always put that in, oops, so the pin point is facing away from me, and I pop it in like that. So with this method we just pin all the way through from both ends, and then we would do the same on the other side of the leader before we roll it up. So this is option number 3. Now I'm sure there's probably other options out there. There's zippers and all sorts of things that people do. These are just the 3 options that I have. It took me a long time to find all 3 options when I was looking, so I thought this video would come in handy for you if you're looking at different options on how you can load, like attach your backing fabric to your leaders. So I hope this has come in handy, and I look forward to bringing you another video shortly. In the meantime, have a lovely day, keep crafting, and bye for now.